Hey guys, welcome to Tier List Tuesday, Episode 1. Today I will be ranking GPUs for crypto mining in 2023. So a quick disclaimer, I am only doing mainstream cards from Nvidia and AMD, so no workstation cards, or the mining only GPUs that most people didn't and still don't have access to. Also, these ratings are only my opinion. The best part of Tier List is the debate that they lead to afterwards, so if you disagree and want to add something, please do so down below in the comments. I love a good debate. So let's get started. Let me explain the tiers. So we'll go from the bottom to the top. So don't buy this GPU for mining. Pretty self-explanatory. You probably shouldn't buy the GPU at all. Spoiler alert for whatever goes in that category. The second tier is these GPUs are gaming GPUs according to Steam. If Steam says you should be gaming on them, you probably shouldn't be mining on them. The next tier is haven't these mined enough yet? Let them rest. Like any good racehorse, once their time is done, it's time to put them out to pasture and let them game. Above that is, these have not been profitable since the merge. Sell them. There are plenty of GPUs that have not seen a dime of profit since the merge. If you're holding on to them, you shouldn't, and you should be selling them. Above that is, most likely mining at a loss with 10-cent kilowatt hours. Time to move them. A lot of people are in denial about these GPUs, and I'm sure I'm going to aggravate a lot of people, but again, this is just my opinion. Above that is more inefficient versions of the above GPUs, and above that is you could make a case for these GPUs in your mining farm. Second tier is the ideal mining GPU if money didn't matter. And finally, the best value, your farm should run these hands down, no questions asked. And here we go. Alright, so let's start out with the 1060. You know, I bought one of these GPUs for $70 in late 2020 for a Scrapyard Awards build I did with some friends before everything went nuts in price. Later on, I realized it could mine. I mined with it for a few months, and then I sold it for $250 in mid-2021. That was when everybody mining on a 1060 should have sold it. It just went downhill from there. Did you know that it used to be the most owned and most gamed on GPU according to Steam? I hope that's because all the miners sold them to gamers. This one is going in the second lowest tier. These are gaming GPUs according to Steam. The 1070, the first GPU I ever repaired. While I should have sold my only 1070, it will always hold a special place in my heart for that reason. I think I mined on it for maybe 3 months at the end of ETH mining. It was making like 50 to 60 cents a day back then. You know, when ETH was profitable and almost at 2K, you know where I'm going with that. So let's move on to the 1080. There was a time when the 1080 was just a power-hungry 1660 Super for mining. That time has long since passed. Didn't Pascal drivers basically ruin these things for mining anyway? The first mining farm I ever saw was from A Life of a Miner. I'll put a link down below if you want to check out his old videos. It was what got me into mining. People like him, when they got in when these things released, did real well and made a lot of money on them. But those are the only people who did. Anyone who bought them later probably didn't do too hot. Point is, I think these things have mined enough, and it's time to send them to a good Fortnite home. Now let's move on to the 1080 Ti. 41 to 47 mega hash at almost 200 watts during the ETH days. Woof. You know where this one's going. It wasn't good back then, and it certainly isn't good now. So let's move on to the 1660 Super. You know, for all the hate I got for my videos on the 1660 Super over the past few weeks, I used to be called Mr. 1660 Super in my Discord. Also linked down below for that. I had a bunch of single fan PNYs, and they did really well during ETH mining. I also had one or two of those Asus ones where you could do the Hynix mod, and you were getting like 36 to 37 mega hash off that one. I kept that one for a lot longer than I should. And so anyway, I know some of you who mine on these things still, and you know who you are. And some of you did okay with these things on coins like Ironfish, and then sold them. Pretty smart move in my opinion. So it's not that I hate these things, it's just that they're borderline inefficient and they cost way too much right now. So if you own one, you should sell it before it becomes a paperweight because they're way overvalued for some reason. And on the flip side, they're too expensive to buy for mining. See the problem? Alright, so now we're going to move on to Turing GPUs. Now that we've got Pascal and that weird thing in between Pascal and Turing out of the way. The 2080 Ti. You know, for what you can get these things on eBay right now, between $260 and $300, from what I have heard, they actually outperform the 3070s on a lot of core algos due to the way they were designed. And they have the same performance as a 3070 in everything else. So I must say, they kind of age like fine wine. I need to get one to do first-hand testing, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm pretty impressed by them. They're going into the top tier, but it goes downhill from there. So let's move on to the 2080 Super. So basically, all the 20 series, minus the 2060 and the 2080 Ti, are in this awkward spot where they all basically mine the same. And the higher the model, the more inefficient they are on power. So they do okay on flux and basically nothing else. So the 2080 Super is definitely kind of meh for what you pay for it. I would rather get a cheaper 2070 or a 2060 Super. That basically does the same thing. It's going right there. The 2070 Super, basically the same thing as 2080, but a little bit better. I did some testing on one. I'll get that video out eventually. There was a time when they were profitable. Still good at flux if that's your thing. I'd still pass on it. The 2070 did a video on it, linked down below. Same thing, I'd pass on it. 2060 Super. If the 2080 is the best, if the 2080 Ti is the best and the 2060 is the worst, the 2060 Super is like the best of the rest. Still not good enough and still very, very meh. In a big meh category. So you get a kick out of it. And I'm not going to edit this because it's kind of funny, but I mixed up the 2060 and the 2080, the 2060 and the 2080, as you can see right there. So we just got that fixed. Anyway, so that was Turing. Better than Pascal, but, you know, it had its place in mining, but honestly, I think its time has passed, and I think it's time to sell all of them. So let's move on to where things actually get interesting. Let's move on to Ampere 30 series. So we'll start off with the 3060. It's basically a more efficient 1080 Ti, and by that I mean it's about half the power usage. If you can get one for $200 or less, or if you've been mining with one of these since it came out and you made your money back, and you never sold it, I think I would keep it, and I'd still be mining on it. I personally have a rig of 6 of them, still mining strong. So it's going to end up the first one in Tier 4. Alright, now the big one, the one you've all been waiting for. Ding, 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 we have a winner. Undefeated, and still the undisputed champion of the world, the 3060 Ti. This thing has been gold, it's been fire, it's been money since it came out. If you've been mining on one of these since they released, and you're able to pay MSRP, I personally have a few of those, so I know there are others out there like me. You mine with these things till they die. They're making pure profit. They're great. They're perfect on everything, basically. I can't say enough good things about them. If you can get one for around $250, I would scoop them up, as I think they're going to hold their value. And if a memory coin, like an ETH hash coin or you know, something that uses primarily memory, becomes the next big coin during the next bull run, oh, you better look out, because these things are going to shoot back up in value. So we going right up to the top. 3060 Ti. The 3070. It's kind of like, you know, a new challenger has entered. You know, when in Smash Brothers you play and it's like, a new challenger has arrived. Or if anybody watches or watched wrestling, you know, when you're at the end and the champion's won and he's celebrating, and then you see, you know, The Rock or The Undertaker or Kane, they run out, everybody's screaming, they have a chair, they get a cheap shot in, and they stand victoriously as the new champion. The 3070 was that. It was second fiddle to the 3060 Ti during ETH days, because they were basically the same, but the 3070 cost more. However, since the merge, the 3070 has taken the lead thanks to its CUDA-core count and its performance on core algos. If you could only have one GPU for the price of performance, this is the one to get. If you can get them around $300 or less, because I know they're out there, I think it's almost a no-brainer. And I don't see them going down in price. And you know, we're at least a year and a half away from the 50 series, and who knows when the next bull market comes, but these things will be the king for that. And you mark my words, if you have an entire farm of 3070s and 3060 Ti's, you are in fantastic shape, and frankly, I wouldn't change a thing. The 3070 is on top. The 3070 Ti is a weird one, to be sure. I took a gamble on a few of them during the ETH days. I'd say they paid off. I was banking on LHR being cracked, and it did. Lately, they are kind of less efficient on some of the memory algos, but they have a little bit better efficiency on the core algos if you tweak them right. And then coins like Nexa, which use both core and memory, it's weird comparing them when you compare them to the 3070. Honestly, it's kind of hard to make sense of these. If you can get them for around the 3070 price, which I'm pretty sure you can't, it doesn't hurt. But they're in such a weird place with their pricing due to where the 3080 price is going. I don't know. Again, if you can get one at the price of a 3070 or around there, I would get it. If you have them, I wouldn't sell them because I don't think you're going to get your value, and I would just keep mining with them. So they're going to go right here. Let's move on to the 3080. I want to get this out of the way. I should have sold my 3080s about a year and a half ago, but I didn't. And now that I didn't, and at their current market price, I feel like if you own them, it's best to hold them, because if a memory algo becomes a new big dog, look out, these things are going to skyrocket in value. They basically are on the top tier of memory algos. The only thing that's basically better is the 4080 and the 4090, and to a lesser extent the 3090 and 3080 Ti. If you can get these things for around $400, I honestly think that I would probably split up my allocation of 3070s and 3080s, where I'd almost go to like a 50-50 split, depending on your power. I honestly feel like it's hard to say no to at least a rig of these. They do serious work when triple mining, and I really think they're going to hold their value around there. And for the same reason, for all the other 30 series, if a memory coin happens to be the next one, look out. Now, I personally don't think I'm going to buy more of them, but I have 7, and I'm going to keep it that way. So we're gonna put these right up on tier 3, where you could definitely make a case for them. So the 3080 Ti, it depends on the price. They basically mine the same as a 3090, and I'm not sure if that's worth it anymore. I think I would rather have a 3080 since they're more efficient. It's a stretch, but they do have more VRAM, and the numbers don't lie. I don't know. I think if you can get one for maybe 500, but they seem to be going for around 550. So I think that's kind of a stretch for me. I don't think I'd buy one. I think there's more efficient versions of them, but they're really not going to lose you money at 10 cents. So it's tough. I would honestly put them, like if I could put them in the middle, like somewhere between with the 20 series and the 30 series, but I think I'm going to put them, let's be controversial. I'm going to put them with the 20 series. So let's move on to the 3090. So let me give a big disclaimer. I have one 3090 left. It was my launch day Nvidia.com 3090. The amount of stress I avoided not having to hunt for GPUs after 5 days for my personal gaming rig, I can't tell you how good it felt. It got me back into PC gaming, it got me into mining, so I will never sell it. It will mine till it can't, and then it will game till it can't, and then it will be a server GPU, then it can't. And then when it has nothing left to give, it's going to get mounted on my wall, taken apart, beautifully, blessed in oil, and it's going to stay there forever. For everyone else, if you can get one of these at $700, I think they still have some value. I think they're great for mining. I think they're going to have a lot of use potentially for AI, which will keep their price point there. I don't think they're a bad purchase. I don't think I would buy them over the 3080, but if their price goes down a little more, or if you just want a 3090, I think there's way worse things you could spend your money on. So we're going to put them in tier 4. All right, let's move on to the 3090 Ti. Basically the same thing as a 3090. If you can get them for the same price, I would almost say that would put it in 3080 tier level, just because it does get more hash. So yeah, I would get it. I think they're definitely going to have a good future for AI, and I think they're going to hold their own in gaming because of the 40 series lack of memory bus. All right, so let's move on to the 40 series. The 4060 Ti. Nope. That was a really good movie, by the way. You should watch it. It was kind of like Signs for our generation. Just go watch my videos, and I'll explain to you why it's really bad. I'm not going to spend any more time on it. Not going to spend any more time on it. We're just going to move on. And I'm kind of angry I even had to say its name. Alright, so let's move on to the 4070. This one might be the all-around best 40 series GPU for mining when taking in everything into account. So the issues with the 40 series is their poor memory performance, which I've done a video on at least with the 3060 Ti. I'm sorry, with the 4060 Ti, and I will be doing one for the rest of the 40 series. And you can check out the video, which I'll put a link down below, on my just overall performance of my 40 series rig. The 4070 actually has the same memory as the 3070, which is not a terrible place to be. Its memory, it excels in core algos, and its price is borderline. So the borderline price kind of holds it back a little bit, but I could see a scenario where mining starts to pick up again, the price of 3070s goes up, and there'll be a point where maybe they're like $150 cheaper, $175 cheaper than a 4070 Ti, where it might be like, do you want to buy a used 3070 or a new 4070 Ti? And I could see it being where you could maybe justify buying a 4070 over a 3070. You know, it would take a little bit of finagling to get there, but I do think it could be there. So I am going to put this one in the B tier, where the ideal GPU if money didn't matter. So let's move on to the 4070 Ti. It's really just basically a worse 4070, to be honest. If it came down to buying one of these or a 3090 Ti for about $100 to $150 less, I'm going to have to go with the 3090, but I think it's close. I just think the 3090 will hold its value better for its higher VRAM, even though it's a little bit less inefficient. Honestly, this is one of the things where if you think you're going to see core algos be a lot more popular than memory algos in the future, you kind of go the 4070 Ti. Otherwise, you go the 4090 Ti. So, they're kind of neck and neck, honestly. So we're going to put the 4070 Ti in the fourth tier, more inefficient version of the above GPUs. Let's go to the 4080. I wanted to put this lower than it is, but it's still popular. That said, unless you can get a sick, still profitable, not popular. It's not popular at all. Unless you can get a sick deal on one of these, I paid $810 for mine. I would skip it and either buy a 4090 or a pair of 4070s or 4 3070s. You see the trend. It's basically the issue with the 4080 is it comes down to the price. Like I said, I would put it in the lower tier, but it's profitable, so I can't. All right, so the 4090. Where to begin? It's basically the best mining card out there. It destroys everything in its path. It just came out 2 years too late. If you are just looking to get into mining, you have a really, really low power rate, and you want something that will have uses outside of mining and will hold its value better than, say, an ASIC, or is less risky than an ASIC, the 4090 is probably your go-to GPU. Especially if you have issues with density, these will solve that. I have two, and they have done great work mining for me. The problem is I didn't buy them to mine with. I bought them to game with, and I'm just taking advantage of the fact that they're actually profitable to mine on. So for me, when I bought these things, ROI wasn't a thing, and I didn't even take them into consideration for mining. I don't know if I would have bought one just for mining. This one is an interesting one to debate, and I would love to hear your opinion on it. It's going to go smack dab in tier 2, the ideal mining GPU if money didn't matter. Alright guys, that's Nvidia. You can see my rankings. Basically we have Pascal GPUs and the GPU we will not talk about. Basically the Last Jedi version of, if the Last Jedi was a GPU, it would be the 4060 Ti. Down at the bottom. And we've got the Turing series in the middle. Again, I would still get rid of them. And then, you have your Ampere and your 40 series up top. And again, I really do think that Ampere is going to hold its value for mining better than Ada Lovelace, unless the prices start trending down for Ada Lovelace, which, looking at Nvidia stock, I just don't see it happening. Alright, now on to AMD. Alright, so we're going to start off with the venerable, the old dog, the Smarty Jones, the best racehorse on the planet. They won all their races. The Rocky Balboa, the Muhammad Ali of GPU mining GPUs, the Polaris cards. I'm just going to use the 580 to represent them all. It's time to retire them. These cards have mined enough. It's time to let them rest. They belong in the hands of gamers. At about $40 USD, which is all I would pay for these things, you can't beat them for an esports rig for your kid's first computer or for first-time PC gamer. They also make a great tax write-off if you're going to donate them somewhere. Just let them rest. It's time to let them sleep. They've done enough. They've made people tons of money. Just let them go. I'll be doing a video tomorrow actually showing you how well these things still game and how it's okay to buy a mining GPU for gaming now. You should get the hint that I'm trying to put down. On to little Navi, the 5600 XT. Listen, if I could go back and start mining all over, I would have started 12 months before I did, so about early 2020 when the 5600 XT came out, and I would have bought out every single Micro Center in my area. Every single Micro Center in my area, every Best Buy, and I'd be sitting pretty right now. But it's not 2020, and once ETH bit it, that was the ballgame for these things. Most new coins don't support them. They're just not efficient. They're a pain to tweak. I could go on and on. It's just not worth mining on them. They're great gaming GPUs, though. I still have one, and I like to actually game on it, and you can do a lot of neat stuff with the BIOS mods on these things. But they have not been profitable since the GPU merge, and if you still have one, you should sell it unless you're using it for a gaming rig. The 5700 XT or the 5700, same as above, but with a little more support. They really haven't been profitable since the ETH merge. I know, I tried firsthand. I snagged a bunch of these cheap post-merge, and I had grand expansion plans where I was going to buy tons of these for almost no money. I ran the numbers, and after weeks, months of trying, they just didn't work out. I actually ended up selling them for a minor profit, but as for mining, their time has passed, and they belong in the hands of gamers for budget GPU builds. Alright, so let's move on to Big Navi. The 6600 and the 6600 XT. I've actually never owned one, but man are these things efficient, and I think in the right situation, these babies are rocking and rolling. I personally wouldn't buy them at the current price points, but I don't fault anyone who does. And if you like mining with AMD GPUs, these things are pretty good. I really think you can make a case for these, and they're going up there. Let's move on to the 6700 XT. For me, it's the most populous AMD GPU I am currently mining with. They're a great GPU. They're a pain to set up on most coins, and I kind of really don't like the lack of triple mining support, and they just do okay on Zill. But if you're into core algos, these things are tough to beat. So we're going to put we're going to put this with the 6600. I know a lot of people will disagree with me and say the 6600 XT is on a tier above them, but I think the 6700 XT is more powerful, helps with density, and at their price points right now, I think I'd rather have a 6700 XT over a 6600 XT, as I think they will age better. Let's move on to the 6800. Still a very solid GPU. I'm personally down to one. I sold most of mine. They held their price for quite a while. They are dropping in price now. You know, for what you could get them for now, I honestly think I would buy them, especially if you like AMD GPUs. For me, you know, they suffer from the same issues all the other AMD GPUs suffer from: lack of triple mining support, lack of constantly updated mining support. But, you know, you definitely can make a case for them. 6800 XT is basically the same as the 6600 XT, just uses a little bit more power, but it has a little bit more VRAM. It's going in the same space. The 6900 XT, never mined on one, glad I didn't. Way too inefficient to mine on anything post-merge. Solid gaming GPU, especially at the price they're at right now. As far as the 50 series refresh on these things, I never bothered with them. I really don't know anyone who did. They were kind of overpriced. I'm sure they still kind of are. Didn't really do anything with them. I would probably lump them, honestly, a tier lower than their non-50 version, their non-refreshed versions of them. Let's move on to the current gen AMD. So we've got the 7600. I haven't used it from the little I've gathered, though. It's pretty much a bad 4060 Ti. I just wouldn't buy it. You can get other used GPUs better for mining. The 7900 XT. I've never used one to mine with, but with the fact that they're quickly dropping in price, and from what I've seen, they're not terrible in mining, I think they could quickly become a compelling case for miners if the price keeps going down. So I'm probably going to put it up in the third tier as the price keeps dropping. The 7900 XTX. I actually own one, but I've never used it for mining. I've seen people who have, and they say it can be pretty solid as long as it has the proper support. And you can get them for $1,000 or even less. I've actually seen Micro Center with open boxes for cheap. So we're going to put these up in tier 3. I think you can make a case for them. Alright guys, well that's it. If you guys think I've missed a GPU, if you think I did something wrong, if you don't like my tier list, if you think I stink, if you think it's great, I'd like to hear all of it. Please leave comments down below. I love a good debate. This is my first tier list, so if there's anything you think I could have improved on, please let me know as well. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to try to do these tier list videos once or twice a month, and I'll do refreshes of my list every few months. Alright guys, thank you guys for watching. Recruitman out.